uniform, but I'm Lieutenant Palmer here in the gray sweatshirt.
Yeah, I thought that was you.
I wore my snowmobile sweatshirt for the occasion.
That's okay. We're all home trying to stay warm, right?
That's right.
Thanks for
so much
joining us.
for attending.
No problem.
Okay, we're on YouTube, right?
Yes, we are.
Okay, so the last comment, if you do not identify yourself, your comments will not be reflected in the minutes. So is there any public comment about items on the agenda? Okay, if not, Dave, could you take it from there?
Yep. Approval of minutes. I motion for the board to approve version 5.1 of the October 21st, 2020 Board of Supervisors meeting minutes. Seconded by?
I second that, David.
All right, thanks, Donna. Discussion.
Yeah, I'm going to give a yes vote, a reluctant yes vote. I still think the minutes are insufficient for what we're doing in the meeting and providing information to the public that's subsequent to the meeting, but mine be a yes vote.
All right, thank you, John. All in favor? Any other discussion before we move on? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. All right, motion carries 5-0. Okay, approval of minutes. I have motion for the board to approve version 1.1 of the November 18th, 2020 Board of Supervisors meeting minutes. Seconded by?
I'll second it.
Okay, seconded by Mary. Any discussion? No? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries 5-0.
Okay,
All right.
move to
Thank you,
reports.
everybody.
I make a motion that the board approve the November 2020 Treasurers Report, which includes the following disbursements. The general fund with disbursements and transfers of $340,736.26. The Park and Recreation Fund with disbursements of $5,512.38. The Open Space Fund with disbursements of $6,330.74. The Capital Reserve Fund with disbursements of $279,884.73. And the Fire Hydrant Fund with disbursements of $580.80, leaving a balance in all funds totaling $254.09. Seconded by.
I'll second that, Nancy.
Thank you. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, nay?
Aye.
Nay, you're saying aye, right, John?
Yeah,
Yes, you're a yes?
I couldn't get my mute button off quick enough. So
Okay, so you're a yes.
Yeah.
yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, you're up, John.
All right. Zoning officer report. In the month of November 14 permits were issued. $740.90 were collected in building fees, and $2,935 in miscellaneous fees were collected. 31 inspections were performed, and there were 4 ongoing zoning issues reported. The only thing I would say is we've had another record month of inspections and permits, indicating people are working on their houses, and there's lots of work going on. Just as a side note, I could tell you that the cost and availability of fundamental building materials are extremely high at the moment. Very difficult to buy some stone this week, and framing lumber has gone off the scale on price. There were 4 ongoing zoning issues reported. I won't go into those, but I did see a note on Facebook where somebody dumped a wash machine off of North Clay Creek Road, and I think it's in our township. So it's on the Franklin Township message board.
So John, I know you didn't want to go into the 4, but I always like it when Joan gives us an update, because it's interesting. We seem like we're getting some bamboo issues resolved, and then we pick up some new bamboo issues. But if she could just briefly go through where those 4 are.
Okay, the one on 116 Peacedale Road, they were sent a notice, and I have to check with Jeff Vogels because some of these, I think he's finished up on it, and I need to clear that up with him. I think this one he followed up on. 3327 Appleton Road, that's the ongoing issue with the house up on the corner there. The 434 Churchill Road, that is done. 1833 New London Road, we're having problems finding who's responsible for the grass there. We thought it was sold at a sheriff's sale, and we contacted the person who was supposedly the winning bidder, according to the bank, and now that fell through. So I just reached out to M&T Bank again, and they gave us some more names to try and locate somebody who's responsible for that property. And the 4 Duncan Lane, there's no further action on that. That was a bamboo issue also.
Thanks, Jim.
Yeah, my only comment is the township shouldn't even have a bamboo ordinance.
We'll just move on, I guess.
Donna?
Okay, I'll go next then. Thank you, Mary. So the PC did not hold a meeting in December, so I assume we just move on then, right? Should we go to the next one, Mary? And
Thank you.
HARB did not hold a meeting. Historical Commission did not hold a meeting in December, but Chairman Lagasse will provide a few updates. So Paul, could you?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
good. Guys, I haven't said anything yet, so I just didn't know whether I'd come through or not. Just a couple quick updates. I've been talking, I think, almost regularly about the historic resource map. That is all but done. Jeff has been in contact with a person at 911. We're attempting to determine the address of one parcel with a ruin on it. And when that is done, that address will be passed on as soon as possible to the planning commission that's the county planning commission that's doing the map, and this will be put to bed. But otherwise, it is essentially done. We've been making some what you might consider, I guess, off-season progress with respect to the Churchill Cemetery. I've spoken with, well, I guess Jeff set up an arrangement with the Sportsman's Association, and I talked, and they're going to help with the cleanup once the cleanup starts. We really do expect that ultimately we will determine that the deed is not held by anyone, and this is an abandoned property. I think, as I mentioned, probably last time Nan and I had been there, and we were very dismayed at the state of the property, and so we just want to do what we can. There will be a lot of things that we have to handle prior to actually starting to work there. I would need to talk to the owner of the property that surrounds it, see if perhaps they will help us get access to it, because we'll be having to move stuff off of it. And the research is ongoing, and we're actually turning up, slowly, a lot of interesting aspects about the church community, and I'm hoping that will continue to proceed. And any number of our commission members have been involved in that. And finally, the main reason we did not meet at all last time is that we were slated to meet concerning the demolition permit request for 3327 Appleton Road. We had very specifically requested that we receive anything that the engineers report prior to the meeting. The engineer's report was not received except by prompting, and it was late, and we did not want to be forced into a situation of not having an appropriate time to review that before we met, and so we asked for continuance. I subsequently, later that week, sent an email to the DeFrancesco Appleton Trust lawyer requesting that once again, that things be sent to us in a timely manner. We have a number of requests. And as of now, we've not received anything. And indeed, I requested that we make arrangements by the 17th to have somebody go through the building so that we could have an independent assessment to complement the engineer's report prepared by the property owner. And we've got no requests. And at this point, I'm going to have to send out another email basically complaining about that. And so that's just where things stand with that right now. And I will check in with Joan and Mark before I send that email out, just to see if they have any insights on whether I've, my wording, et cetera. But I'm not really used to a situation where you have to pull teeth quite like this. I would assume that the property owner would like to have the permit reviewed in a timely manner, but frankly, we're not getting the cooperation I would like. And that's it. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to.
Thank you.
Yeah, not so much you, Paul, but for Mark, is there something? I mean, how does that work? If the client or the person who's coming before you is not giving you any information, do we just keep on delaying things, or can you?
Well, it's really. I just want to make sure you can hear me. It's really up to the HARB to gather the information that they find necessary to make a decision. And if the applicant doesn't want to cooperate, then it's up to HARB to take that into consideration in its decision. I mean, it can only make a decision on the information that it has before it. So it's an ongoing matter, and we'll see if the applicant, how or if the applicant cooperates next month.
Yeah, my only, Mark, basically that is sort of a variation of my approach. I was simply, in broad terms, expecting to say, we don't have it. We can proceed without it if you wish, or if you wish us to have this before we proceed, they're going to have to continue this again. We can't do these things in a timely manner without some cooperation. But they have to continue it, Donna. We don't continue it. If they don't continue it, the time limit that is placed upon the HARB's decision requires us to act.
Right. So the decision is before the HARB, and I would suggest, rather than discussing it at length now, that we let the HARB, we let that process run its course. Eventually, it will make its way to the Board of Supervisors. I don't want to, engage in any pre-decisional discussion at this meeting, because we don't know what that recommendation is at this point.
Yeah, I think you made the point, Mark, that the HARB can ask for it. If they don't get it, they make their decision based on the information they have. So that's clear direction in terms of what happens next.
That's simply the way it has to be. And I'm not trying to enter into any sort of discussion about the substance of the matter. I'm just reporting merely on procedural issues.
Got it. Thank you. Any other questions for Paul? Okay, so I'll go into the next item then. So our Park Recreation and Open Space Board Chair, Sachs, will provide a brief update on the PRO December 2nd meeting. So Chairman Sachs?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, you are. Hi, Greg.
All right, how you doing? So, yeah, a few updates here. So first is the Healing Garden. We're slowly making progress here. We're dealing with, as I mentioned in the last meeting, Danilo Maffei, who's a landscape designer. He wanted us to kind of give our objectives on what would make this space successful, especially since, this is kind of the second go around with it. So I went through with the pro board, and the objectives we came up with was first low maintenance, of course, an environmentally beneficial, peaceful space that has some educational qualities, which could include signage describing the plantings and the benefits they provide. Another idea we had was a possible free library kiosk, like the little kiosk that has some reading materials and books for people, as well as usable handicap accessible walkways. So I'd also like to extend that to the supervisors. If you guys have any additional objectives you'd like to add, or email me, I'd love to hear them and pass them along. So another idea that Danilo had was to possibly create a community survey, just getting as much feedback as we can, just to make this a success this time around. So from here, he's going to write a proposal for design services. They'll be presenting that to the pro board to start, and then we'll go from there. Next up was the Banffshire Bridge. So last Saturday, they successfully installed the Banffshire Bridge foundation. It was augured micro piles as per the engineer's design. They installed orange safety fencing to close off the area and made a temporary trail to route the people around from that work area. They luckily had some donated machinery. About $500 worth of machinery was donated, which saves the township some money. So that is slowly moving along. Just a quick update on the Auburn Road property. We had, as you guys know, the owners were interested in preserving that property, and we were finally able to get a hold of the owner. We had some trouble finding a proper contact for him, but the owner is receptive and they're interested in exploring the possibilities. So we've put them in contact with Natural Lands, and we're gonna see how that goes and kind of follow up with that as well. Another item was a motion was made during our meeting and approved with a vote of 8-0 to transition the majority of the area on the south side of the Healing Gardens, which is the street side, to the similar mowing that we've done with other meadow areas, which is a once-a-year mow. The reason for this is to add more habitat, which is beneficial for the environment. It's also going to help with storm runoff, which mowed grass is pretty bad at helping with. And finally, cut back on costs with the township mowing. So it seems like kind of a win-win. We kind of see it as cutting a perimeter, so it doesn't look like it's an unkempt area. So there'll still be a mowed perimeter around it. Also, once the gardens are complete, we could also cut a path starting at the gardens and kind of tying that walks through the little meadow area that kind of ties these areas together. That's basically all I had. If anyone had any questions, I'd be happy to answer you.
Pretty impressive, Greg. That's a lot of accomplishments.
Yeah, we're doing our best. We got a good team going.
You sure do.
So just a couple of questions. Just to understand process. So, Greg, you said that there was an 8-0 vote to keep part of that land as a meadow. You just worked that through with Joan, right? We don't need to vote on that, or I don't know if maybe should ask Mayor. We can just. It seems like a reasonable thing to do. Is that something that our Franklin Township manager can take care of? We don't have to have a motion, do we, Mary?
I don't know. Joan, you want to comment on that?
Well, everything they do needs to be approved by the board, so it would be something that the board should agree on. In this case, it would be lowering expenses, so instead of costing the township more money. So
Yeah, that's how we looked at it.
Yeah, so do we, I guess the question would be, do we write a motion now, or do we put the motion on the next board meeting to get that approved, or can we just,
We-
I mean, I don't know what the.
we could do it at the next board meeting. I mean, you're not ready to start on it now because we're not mowing grass now, so.
Right.
Good point.
Right.
That's a good idea. So make it for the next meeting. And, Greg, I don't think you're gonna have any, the process is that you bring the ideas to us and then we have to approve it, so that.
Yeah, I just
that's
wasn't
great.
sure since it wasn't, with the cost factor. But yeah, I appreciate you clarifying that for me.
that's it.
Yes, and sometime in the near future, Greg and I will meet with the Hawkings and try and pick out the best spot, something that's suitable for a larger tractor.
Okay. And then my other comment has to do with the pickleball letter that I think the PRO has received, and I know the Board of Supervisors has received. My understanding is that there's going to be a conversation towards the end of the meeting when we do public comment. So I just hope that you stay around, Greg, for that, because I do think pickleboard ball stuff, that kind of park stuff, I'm assuming if the rest of the board agrees with me, should kind of come through the PRO. You look at it in the context of all the other priorities that the PRO is considering, and then we have a conversation as a board. But I just hope that you stay around, if you can stay around for that, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure. I'll hang around. And I did see the email. And that was actually something that we had in discussion. So, I'm familiar with what they're getting at. But yeah, I'll be around.
That's all I have, Mary, so thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Greg.
Yep. Thanks.
All right, let's move on to the comprehensive plan. We had a meeting last night. Nan Latimer, our chair of the comprehensive plan, is not on this meeting, but she just wanted to let everyone know that everything is on schedule going forward. She had no report to make tonight, but she feels everything's on schedule and moving forward the way she anticipated. Any comments on that? Any questions on that?
I actually have a comment. So I had the opportunity to listen to not the December comp meeting, but the November comp meeting. And at the beginning of that meeting, there was a conversation about taxes and EIT taxes and increasing EIT taxes to pay for additional open space. Now, I want to be clear, it was one person on that committee who brought it up, and there was a conversation. Nothing was agreed. It was just that it was out there. Just that there was that discussion. But I do want to make a comment that the focus was on the EIT tax, and a comment was made that our EIT tax is low. It's low compared to other townships, and so there's a capacity to increase that. That was what one person said. And I just wanted to make the comment, I wish the man was here, but that when we look at that kind of a discussion, we need to look at the total tax burden that includes both real estate taxes and EIT taxes when we think about our residents being undertaxed, because I believe I think they're paying a lot in taxes, and I wouldn't want that kind of characterization getting out there without a fuller discussion. So I just wanted to bring that up. Nan did her best to talk it through and to explain the history of EIT tax increases and how we do open space and what the other ways to pay for open space are. So she did an excellent job. There was a good conversation amongst the team, but I just wanted to bring that to light, that it was a good 15-20-minute discussion at the beginning of the meeting. So, thank you.
Well, Donna, if I could I appreciate your comments, Donna. But keep in mind that this is a committee that everyone has different information, what they know and what they don't know. And we're having discussions, and people are throwing things out there and discussing. They're not decisions. I think sometimes they put ideas out there and they don't have all the information, and that's what we're trying to do. But yeah, I think it's a great committee. I think it's going to really benefit our township, and Nan is pleased that it's going forward the way it is. So
Yeah.
but I wouldn't
One
get
other-
too concerned about
Mary,
that. Go ahead,
Mary, if I
Dave.
could just add, I think when someone says that there's a discussion on whether we're undertaxed, that can be really misconstrued and alarmist.
Right.
So I think that might not be fair. And I
Right.
think, as Mary says, people have opinions.
Yeah.
The EIT tax is about as complicated as it gets in terms of explaining to people. So I'm not comfortable trying to shut anyone down. People should
No.
talk about what they want to
Yeah.
talk about and not necessarily have it come to the Board of Supervisors unless or until they're
Yeah.
ready.
So the point about the EIT tax too, I don't know how far you got through the conversation. We as a board or as the committee, and where we ended up was, this is not a recommendation, right? This is not going to be a recommendation. This is not going to be a part of the comprehensive plan. And like you said, it was one participant. I think if you listen to the conversation, which is online, if anyone's interested, we were not really supportive of the process of that, but it's very difficult. One of the things that's interesting about that process is you kind of see people from different perspectives, and they're, for me, I don't always agree, and they're on totally the opposite side of the fence. But that's part of why I think the process is pretty interesting. So I would encourage you, if you haven't, take a look and just, you don't have to listen to the whole comp plan meetings, but they're all up on YouTube, and they're pretty good to just kind of go through and listen to how the conversations are going, because they're pretty constructive, and they're interesting points of view. So
Yeah, I'm sorry if my comments were taken the wrong way. I wasn't trying to.
No, Donna, not at all. I appreciate your comments, but I just want you to know it's a process.
Echo what David says. People are interested. It's so nice that we have the YouTube availability to listen, and I thank Dave and Jeff and Mary for working on that, because it's really a plus where you don't have to go by word, hearsay. You can actually hear yourself. So I just was commenting on that conversation. As I said, I thought it was handled well, and I just wanted to make that comment since that was discussed at one of the meetings. So thank you.
Donna, I must say, I take zero credit for anything that's on YouTube, because I don't know how to do it. Thank you, Dave and Jeff.
Yes, Dave and Jeff.
Okay. They're the man. Okay. Are we ready to move on for the comp plan? Any more comments? Okay, then, Jim German, could you give us an update on the Franklin Township Sportsman's Association?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Thank you, Jim. Thank you.
Okay, good. Short update tonight. Hunting season, early archery, and the shotgun season that starts after Thanksgiving is officially closed now. The extended season will start again December 26th through January 23rd. And we are in a special regulation area of the state of Pennsylvania due to the high population of deer. So we have that extended ability to hunt after Christmas. So right now everything is down, closed. To date, we've taken 10 deer. I noticed on my report I had a typo there. It says 18. That should just be 8 antlerless deer taken out of Franklin and 2 taken out of Banashire this year so far. I know I was out a number of times, saw a couple, just never had the opportunity to get a shot off at them, but there's still a lot of deer out there. No service projects in the last month because we've concentrated more on hunting than providing any service projects. But again, if there's anything out there, please let us know. I did see, and this I think falls more from a pro or a combination of, Paul Overton had sent out an email here back last week, over the weekend, about trash being dumped again along Creek Road, and there's some deer carcasses in with all that trash. I'd suggested that since he knew where they were at, to reach out to the Game Commission. I'm not sure if he did or not, but again, it's something that usually happens every year. Somebody gets a deer and dumps it there. I do know it's none of our members from the hunting club, but we keep an eye on it. So other than that, there's been no issues or concerns or any issues with any of the community during the hunting season. Thanks.
Yeah, Jim, I'll second that. I do a lot of hiking and you guys just do a fantastic job doing your thing and not putting anyone, in concern or anything. It seems to be going well. And as we can all tell from the deer on the side of the deer on the sides of the road, it's a real problem.
Yes. Yeah. I'm seeing more of them than I'm in the woods.
Crazy.
Unfortunately. But that's it for me.
All right, well, thank you, Jim.
Okay, thank you.
That. Any more comments any questions for Jim? Okay, well, now I'd like to introduce Lieutenant Nicole Palmer from the Avondale State Police. She wants to provide the township an update. It's all yours, Lieutenant.
Hi, everyone. How are you guys doing?
Very good.
Great.
I was taking some notes because we make patrol checks for problem areas. And I was provided some places for speeding and stuff like that, stop signs. The stop sign at Den Road and Chesterville Road, I think you said there were a lot of people blowing the stop sign. And I was just looking through our stats. We've made 13 stops right there at that location. That's just where the troopers entered it. So they could be, but they're all in that area. So they are addressing that issue. But I also, so when we do that, we make patrol checks. If a township tells us that a problem area, I'll make a patrol check and then the computer automatically dispatches troopers to it. So I just wrote down North Clay Road for the washer being dumped and then Creek Road for the trash being dumped there as well. We'll just have troopers drive through there and maybe someday they'll catch someone, and if there's bags of garbage, sometimes our troopers will go through it and look for addresses and stuff like that to see if they can, tie someone to that for dumping the trash. That is against the crimes code. So we do put that there. Our stats compared from January of 2019 to through the end of November for both years. Our stats are down a little bit in 2020, which is expected because of COVID. One thing that has been going up, I see your burglaries are up by 1. Last year you had 3, this year you had 5. And thefts 15 to 18, which most other townships, they have gone down because people are home. So I don't know why in your township they have gone up, but that is something that has gone up. Other than that, our traffic arrests did have gone down. Again, during April and May, troopers were trying to limit their contact with people unless it was absolutely necessary. But then by June, the traffic was just getting crazy. So we went back out and we were enforcing, heavily like we normally do. But I think now it's just business as usual. We wear gloves and masks to protect ourselves, but because of COVID, we can't stop enforcing the law. Do you guys have any questions for me?
I do, Lieutenant. I looked at the statistics sheet that you gave us, and there's one item, domestic security check -school 21. What exactly is that? Can you help us out here? You're muted. You're muted, Lieutenant. I can't hear you.
Who muted me? I was good to go before.
I didn't do it, I promise.
Well, I thought only the guys at work did that to me. Domestic security checks, our department created that after all the school shootings. So we check all the schools, whether it's a daycare, public school, private school. We do domestic security checks for the schools. So some of them you might see, and that's what my clerk sends you. I have more detailed stats that I could send just the board of directors, but they're not for public view.
Okay.
But sometimes, like during COVID, when schools were closed or during the summer, you'll see that they're canceled. But we still drive through schools just to protect them, make sure that they're not damaging the property. But that's what that. And see, we do, I said, the patrol checks. So like, we could do a house check for someone who's going away. Not that many people are going on vacation now, but like let's say the typical snow people that go to Florida in the winter. We could check their house while they're down in Florida. So that just helps to, make sure that you know what cars are supposed to be there, and just helps out.
Thank you. All right. Does anyone have more questions for Lieutenant Palmer?
Really just an FYI from the Sportsman's Club.
Yes, sir.
I know in the past we've had some interaction with the state police when our guys have been hunting, and they come up and question us. Just an FYI for you, pass along. If it's a member of the Franklin Sportsman has the permission to hunt on any of the township preserves, they should have an armband, and they would have a permission to hunt slip from the township.
Okay.
They would readily and willingly provide that to you. Anybody else that would be hunting in any of the preserves, get them out of there.
All right, will do. Save the deer for you.
That's it.
All right.
And
very
that
good.
kills me too, seeing the dead deer on the side of the road, because I eat venison, so I'm like, what a waste.
Yeah, I feel the pain there.
That's the truth.
But the way the Game Commission is set up, if you see the deer hit, you know it's fresh, and it's a doe, you can call them, you can pick it up, but you have to notify the Game Commission, and they will authorize a permit to you over the phone. If it's a buck, you can't take that. If it's a deer that's still alive, members of the club, the lay public, cannot shoot that deer and put it down. Now, the state police could do it.
Yeah.
But unless if we're there together and say, hey, I can shoot my gun, and I don't have to write up a report if you give me permission. But just general information, the lay public cannot put a deer down along the side of the road. The
I've
Game
known-
Commission used to do it. So
I've been called to many of them, and then I have to clean my gun because of that.
yes. But
Wow.
it's just an FYI for the supervisors to understand that. If it's dead, we know it's dead. We know it's fresh dead, because my brother got one of them this year out in York County. But just an FYI. That's it. I'm done.
Okay.
Very well.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Lieutenant. Appreciate you
All right.
coming to our meeting. and
You're
updating
welcome.
us. Okay.
Everyone stay healthy, please, and and be safe out there, okay? If you have
Thank
any
you so much.
concerns, please reach out to me.
All right, thank you very
You
much.
too.
Thank you.
So I've got the next motion, but it has a note here that says, Stan may recommend adding condition on pending review and approval of changes by ACOM, including the addition of the inline pH sensor and a recorder be added to the design to Part 2 permit amendment. So when I read this motion, how am I reading this? Am I including, is Stan on the line? I don't know if Stan's on the line.
David, yes, hi.
Oh, there you are. Hey, Stan. So do I just, how am I reading this motion? Do I read this condition?
Joan, I'm not sure if you want to jump in. I'd be happy to if you'd like.
Well, should we just talk about this first, and then we
Sure.
know
So-
what we,
Should I read the motion and get it seconded and then have the discussion? Is that how it works?
well, why don't you wait, Dave, until we know if we have to
Oh,
add that
okay.
section or
Sure.
not, okay?
Yeah, just some very brief background. I think, as the board knows, the DEP permit amendment was something that we thought was technically adequate as of September. There were open concerns with the agreement to construct at that point that have since been resolved. That was one of the concerns with forwarding the permit amendment at that time. In the interim, we had received a revised set of design drawings and specifications. We just got those earlier this month, and there were some minor design changes in that submission that had not been captured by the earlier information, and that's the pH sensor that you had previously noted, David. Technically, we don't see those as a big deal, really, but we would recommend that they get folded into the DEP permit amendment just for completeness sake, so we don't have any more hiccups with DEP. So if acceptable to the board, we would have no objection to authorizing approval of submitting the DEP permit amendment conditioned upon the applicant's engineer providing that additional information to revise the permit application. We would review and provide our recommendation to Township staff, to Joan at that point, if that was the approval that the board felt appropriate, and then the whole application could be forwarded to DEP.
Okay, that sounds reasonable to me. Is there any discussion on this before I make the motion?
I do have some questions about some numbers in the document, but it's just a question. It's not that I wouldn't vote to support the motion.
All right, so I make a motion to approve submission of the Part 2 permit amendment to DEP for Lexington Point, condition on pending review and approval of changes by AECOM, including the addition of the inline pH sensor and a recorder be added to the design to Part 2 permit amendment. Seconded by?
I second that.
Thank you, Donna. Discussion.
So just some questions for Stan, or whoever was going to answer. So Stan, we had in our books some numbers that were worked out. I think it's in terms of what the capital reserve fund estimate should be, and I believe based on the letter, it's that you're fine with this. But I just had a question to ask. They had in the first set of tables, they had this thing said the total original cost was $590,907.50, and the present worth is $492,310.55, and the difference between those two is about $98,000. And then the next line, this is where my question comes in. It says the recommended capital recovery contribution per dwelling is $12,955.54. And is that based on the current number of houses that are there, or the planned number of houses that are there, and then who pays it?
That is, let me take your questions in reverse order, I guess, if you don't mind. Your last question about who paid it. Per the agreement that that the board had considered last month, that would be paid on a per home basis, along with the application for building permitting for each and every home moving forward. There would also be a lump sum payment that would go along. I believe it's when that agreement is finally executed and they move forward with construction to catch up for the 6 homes that are already constructed. So and moving forward, then it would just track the additional building permit applications.
Okay. So every time the houses are built, then that's where the $13,000 that gets added to the cost of the house. Correct. Is that what you're saying?
Well, that would be how that would be handled would be up to the developer, but the developer would need to make that payment to the township at that time.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
I just want to say, I think I appreciate that you put a pretty good cost per hour for the contract operator, because I think that's sometimes where these systems don't work out, is when you can't find a qualified, well-paid contract operator. So that looks pretty reasonable.
Yeah, and Nancy, to your point, we had, and when I say we, to be honest, I mean Sandy in this case, had taken the time to check with a few contract operators that we know in the area to get their recommendations about the market and costs to help support our comments and prior iterations of all that.
Well, kudos to you both, because that's a critical point in success.
Thank you. And Donna, I'm sorry, you had another question, and I've now my train of thought has now derailed. Could you please refresh my memory on that?
No, I think you answered it. You said that the $12,000 comes from as new houses are sold. So it's based. Right. It's not based on the houses that are there. It's going to be based on the new ones. So you did answer it. So thank you.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
All right. Well, thank you. Any other discussion on this before we move to vote? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries 5-0. All right, thank you, everybody. John, you're up for Hess Mill Bridge.
Okay, so a bridge report with some good news and some bad news. The bridge is currently complete and ready for traffic except for the guardrail. The bridge was ready on December 2nd in accordance with the overall project schedule. Yard works performed flawlessly on all tasks in spite of having no direct experience with constructing a bridge like Hess Mill. Many complex tasks were managed extremely well, especially this dismantlement and removal of the old bridge. Many thanks to the staff, the engineer Ron Reagan, bridge contractor Contact, and Dave Hocking for allowing us to stage material on his critical material on his farm. As indicated, the bridge was ready on December 2nd. Unfortunately, the guardrail project schedule was not managed well and extended the critical path schedule. Guide rail will be installed Friday, December 18th. That's this Friday, and the bridge should be open for service after that. With consideration to all the complex tasks required, the guardrail was project component was a simple mechanical assembly of parts. It's unfortunate that the schedule didn't work out as we expected. There is a final task which we're not able to do because of weather. There's a wear coat of asphalt that we put on the spring that will extend from the center of the bridge on each side out into the roadway to kind of give it a better blend and a better slope. But the surface, the driving surface is entirely serviceable right now. So hopefully we get this guardrail in on Friday and the bridge will be open. That's the report.
Thanks, John. I'll take the next one, and this is on the budget. I make a motion to approve Resolution 2020-21 for the 2021 final budget approval. Seconded by?
I'll second that.
Thanks, Dave. Discussion. We've seen this a couple of times and we've had some conversation. Does anyone see anything that you're concerned about or that you would like to discuss?
No?
No.
Okay. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed say nay. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Joan, for getting us to that point. It's not easy.
Thank you.
Mary, I'll take the next one then.
Thank you, Donna.
So I make a motion to approve Resolution 2020-22 for the 2021 tax levy, setting the township tax rate for 2021. And could I have a second for that, please?
I'll second, yeah.
All right, thanks, Nancy. And just so we're not increasing taxes, the tax rates are all the same, but we do have an obligation to pass this resolution once a year. So any comments from anyone or any discussion?
No.
Okay, so I guess we should vote. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Oh, great, 5-0. Thank you.
All
Brad,
right.
it's you.
I make a motion to approve Resolution 2020-23, Fire Hydrant Resolution, setting the tax rate at $36 for households who live within 750 feet of a fire hydrant. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by David. Any discussion?
How many fire hydrants do we have in the township?
Joan will probably answer that, but go ahead, Joan, and then I got one other comment about it.
11.
11, okay.
This fire hydrant tax is an incredible bargain for the
Oh,
homeowner.
yeah.
It costs them $36 a year, and they get an enormous savings on their homeowner's insurance because of the 750-foot distance to the hydrant. So for the homeowners, it's an absolute bargain.
It's priceless when you need it.
Without a doubt. So any other discussion on this item? We typically do this every year, so it's not.
No.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Motion carries 5-0.
Okay.
All right, so I have the next one. Discussion. Can you? I hear some interference here. Discussion on any update requirements for hours and days allotted for the Franklin Township part-time position. What do you mean by, what's meant by update requirements?
Joe, maybe you can give us some context to this item.
Well, I guess what's meant here is that I need the board to sort of finalize or confirm with me what the hours would be for this person and the days, because it's, for me to hire someone, I have to be able to tell them what days we expect them to work and what hours we expect them there. And that hasn't really been finalized. So that's what we're looking for here. It should be updates to the requirements.
So do we want to have, is this board ready to talk about hours and days, or do we want to give an opportunity to meet one more time, maybe later this week, to talk about it as a group in an executive session? Or I guess I want to make sure everybody's comfortable and everyone's on the same page.
Yeah, I'm not comfortable with what we're doing here, because I really don't know how many part-time secretaries do we propose to have? That's a question I have. So I'm not clear on that point.
Yeah, that would be good, Joan, just to go over what you think you need and where we're at.
Okay, right. Do you want me to continue with this?
Please.
Okay. Right now we have Mary who's been filling Sharon's spot, but after January she needs to reduce her hours. So what Mary will continue to do for us on a part-time basis are the meeting books, the meeting minutes, and there's another thing, Mary, help me here. Meeting books and meeting minutes and something else.
Permits?
No, that's done on a regular basis in the office.
Special projects, special projects.
Yes, like a special project that will fit in with her time schedule that she needs to maintain. And so we're looking for somebody to be in the office, to answer the phone, to take in and distribute permits to the public, and to support Jeff and myself, when we need help with any project or gathering any information. What Mary will do, some of it she can do at home, for example, the minutes, and then some of it when we have to gather the books together, she will be in the office with us during that, probably the week before the meeting. There will be some times that she'll work in a month a little bit more than some other months, depending on how big a meeting book is and what we have to do to get it ready. So she will keep track of her time to make sure she doesn't go over the limit that she needs to maintain for her retirement funds. And then this other person would be filling in, as I said, answering the phone and doing the rest of the secretarial work.
So Joan, just two comments. One is we have the analysis being done by Carrie Vargo, which will help us get a sense of how we're going to organize the township office in the future. If we may decide not to change anything, but we are in the process of doing that, and we have to be open to those recommendations. So that's one comment to put aside, just before we kind of put anything in stone. And then the other thing is this. I'm just going to speak for myself, and the rest of the board members, of course, will give their opinion. I don't want when at the end of the day, when we add the hours that Mary's going to work and add the hours that this new person's going to work, I don't want it to be more than a full-time person. I don't want to get to a situation where we're actually spending money. Just there's a more like I want us to be getting more efficient, not having it and turn out to be that it's going to take more hours to do the same amount of work than it's currently that Mary's doing when she works full-time. I don't know if that makes sense. But
yeah, Donna, that makes total sense. And I totally agree with you, Donna.
I think when, the way I in my mind, the way I think about it is you have someone in the office 20 hours a week. However, those hours are spread out. Doesn't really matter to me. 20 hours a week, and they're answering the phones, they're doing the permits. And then I don't think Mary would be working, 20 hours a week. I don't think she'd be working anywhere close to that. I think it'd be more like 8 hours a week.
Well, Mary and I went through what would be her maximum schedule if, like I said, if it was a complicated book for the board and one for the PC, that took her the most of her time, and that would be a max of 80 hours a month.
Yeah.
So
you're looking at a net reduction anyway, right? On a max month, you're still under what we would pay a full-time, fully loaded, I was going to say FTE, but a fully loaded employee. And so if you are, and I think in my mind, I don't see this as permanent or forever. I don't think Mary wants to do this forever. I don't think, and so eventually, I saw that, Mary. I saw that. I would anticipate as we, find a good receptionist, if that person is truly a good receptionist, Mary can start offloading tasks. Right. And and we would continue to optimize is what I'm trying to say. So we have someone in Mary who's trained up, knows what she's doing. We get this new person in doing the day-to-day stuff. As this person gets experience, or if we find someone we really like, then we can start offloading the heavy lifting, that Mary does. That's my long-term vision, right? And while maintaining that 20-hour work week. I don't know if that 20 hours is right. I mean, I just think that.
I think 20 hours seems reasonable. How those hours gets divided up, it just depends on what the work is for that week. But honestly, what my biggest concern is that I'm going to get in a position where I have to go down to the 20, or the 8 hours a month, and there's nobody there to fill that gap. And then I get in there without somebody in the position, and I'm just playing catch up. And I guess that's where I'm a little concerned that we're not making decisions on at least, the 20 hours a week or something, because something needs to move forward, or we're going to be behind the 8 ball trying to catch up and then trying to train somebody. And,
Well, I'm good with the 20 hours. I mean, we've been, I don't know, John, I know you.
Yeah, she answered my question. I wondered how many part-time secretaries we're going to have, and it sounds like this too. It's going to be Mary and some other person we hire, which I didn't understand. I talked to Joan about a week ago, and that's what I heard again tonight, that there's going to be 2 part-time secretaries. Is that accurate?
I think
right now, I think that's the way we're headed. Now, I was just going to ask, I know several of you board members have spoken with Kerry. Did he give you any indication of when he thought he would be finalizing his report? I mean, if we only have to wait a couple weeks into January till we get that, then we can make a decision then. I mean, but if it's not going to be February or March before he's done, then we have to do something before then.
I think you're going to have to talk to him directly. I did have a long interview with him last week and expressed my concerns and my vision for the township. And my vision is really to contract our activities. I think just looking at our neighboring townships, they do far less than we do, and they operate and survive. So it's really hard for me to understand why we have all this staff resource. So my overall objective would be to reduce the resources and force some prioritization of activities.
I think, John, part of that is the first step is reducing the hours from a full-time, 40-hour a week person to overall 30 hours, right? And my hope, right, is as we have that 20-hour receptionist, then that 20-hour receptionist will maintain their hours, but be able to take on the additional workload.
Right.
So Joan,
that would be the when you talk about, I think you and I talked about, John, when you reduce the resources, the priorities get set, right, differently.
That's precisely the option, the strategy.
And I think by doing this, we're on the right track without causing too much just immediate disruption, right? You know, you can.
Yeah.
I mean, there's different approaches, right? But I think a significant reduction in overall hours.
I mean, the other aspect that I saw or I looked at in my vision is to reduce the number of days that the township is open to the public, to reduce it to be closed Mondays and Fridays. So there's no phone calls. That way the staff can manage their activities without the interruption of phone calls. Most of the activity that comes into the township is related to permits. And of course, Jeff's in there. Jeff Fogels, our zoning officer, is in there Tuesdays and Thursdays. So that accommodates it. That's in line with other townships working reduced days. So I don't think we have enough information to really make some decisions. I didn't get involved in that discussion in this early December because I just was very busy those 2 days and just never picked up the email. So I apologize for that, but I really don't have enough information to make a fundamental decision. I've just indicated what my general objectives would be.
Well, we do need
Can
to.
I speak, Dave, for a second?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Another way to look at it might be, Joan, I am concerned that it isn't posted yet. It can be posted as a part-time position. Generally, when you post, you don't need to be very specific, but as you meet people, you can say, you know, we're looking at Monday through Thursday or whatever. We still have Mary, or Tuesday through Thursday. Mary is here with us, so she's a terrific resource. And that way, you know, it might take you 3 or 4 weeks to find someone. So in that approach, we're at least making progress. I'm afraid by trying to get it exactly right from the get-go, it just may take way too long. And we're going to learn, and we're going to find, okay, Tuesday through Thursday works great, or we need another day, or we don't. And so, you know, you'll get to meet people and you'll get to see what their situation is, and you can start to piece together at least possibilities so that we can just keep moving forward. I am quite concerned that it's now mid-December and we really don't have anyone to help Mary.
Would we be comfortable, and I don't know if we need a motion, but would the board be comfortable saying, let's have, you know, let's reduce the days open 3 days a week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday?
I would not. I'd like to say just reduce it, take Friday out at first and see how things go.
So have 20 hours spread across 4 days instead of 20 hours spread. That's fine with me.
Can I just say?
Go ahead, Mary, talk, and then I'll go after you.
I wouldn't recommend Friday. I would recommend Monday over Friday, because it feels like to me that everybody comes to pick up their permits on Friday. Jeff usually does his distribution and completes his files on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Then Wednesdays and Fridays is or when I get more traffic for permits. I mean, it's not always that way, but it always feels like. So I would say, you know, start with the Monday off, and then go. I mean, Joan, you can chime in and tell me.
I'd like to make a comment here. Can I make a comment, please?
Absolutely.
We've been having this discussion since October, and I don't feel we have moved forward at all. Originally, we wanted to get someone part-time while you were full-time, Mary, so that you could show them the ropes and they could learn. As far as what days we were going to be open, how many hours they were going to work, it was all going to be on a temporary basis, which could move into a permanent part-time position, all hinging on Carrie Vargas' report. We're getting hung up in the details. It's mid-December, and Mary, you're going part-time next month. And Joan, you're going to have a hell of a lot more work on your plate. Hello. It's just, it doesn't matter if we're closed Monday or Friday. It doesn't matter if we're 20 hours or 24 hours. We just need a part-time person in there that Mary can train. We can work those details out. But from October, November, now it's mid-December, we have not moved forward. We don't have a part-time person. We don't even have it advertised.
Yeah, we do. I've sent it out to all the township managers in
When, Joan? A week ago.
Yeah, last week, yes.
Yeah. Is it in
But-
the paper
but
yet? You
Mary-
said you were,
no.
wait a minute, I'm not done, Joan. You said you were going to advertise in the paper. Is it in the
Yes.
paper?
No, because how am I supposed to hire somebody if I don't know what day I'm going to tell them to work? How do I
That
have-
is negotiable. That is when you sit down with the person and they tell you, you know what, every Monday I babysit my grandkids, so I can't work on Monday. You say, all right, I'll take it Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever. That's negotiable. It's a matter of, it's a flexible position that will mold into the person we want and what they can do and what we need. It's just,
But it's not going to be
never all hung
flexible.
up on details.
It's not going to be flexible if you're saying the office is going to be closed to the public on Mondays and Fridays. Well, then you don't need somebody there answering the phone or giving out
Let's
permits.
not commit to any closed days, and that'll make it easier
Exactly,
to do.
exactly.
Okay,
It's
okay.
Respect
negotiable.
Carrie's
It's negotiable, but we
time.
got to move forward.
Okay, it'll go in the paper tomorrow.
I oppose this. I don't think we have anywhere near enough detailed discussion to move forward with this thing. We missed a bunch of meetings. I'm not on board with it. I heard a whole lot tonight that I didn't hear before. We'd have spent $6,000 on Carrie Vargo's report, and we haven't seen it yet. So in reality, we need to look at that report to make any fundamental decisions. I'm not happy with this at all.
But John, what do we do in the meantime when
Yeah.
Mary in 2 weeks goes part-time? What do we do in the meantime?
Priority.
Hire Kelly Services or
Now,
what do we
Mary-
do, John?
Mary has some flexibility because she just can't work more than a certain amount of hours in a year. If she wanted to work the first 3 months of the year and clock in all her time and then not work again, that wouldn't be helpful to us. But I mean, she could do it herself. So if she has to put in a little bit more time in January, then come summertime, she takes off more time. We can make it work.
We have the first opportunity to prioritize tasks right now.
What do you mean, John?
You're working into a limited resource. So until you resolve the final question, you're not going to be able to probably manage all the tasks you have on the table. So now you can prioritize the tasks. You may find some things you shouldn't be doing.
I'm kind of okay with it, but I don't want this to fall on Joan and Jeff to the level where they just can't succeed because they are trying to do 2 jobs.
In a general sense, your staff will never offer any reductions. They always want to do more and more. So the only way to manage it is to take some resource off the table.
John, what are we doing that you don't think we should be doing?
I don't know that yet. That's what the prioritization. When you're forced into the prioritization, then you'll find those things. I don't know enough about the daily operation at office to make some fundamental decisions. We're supposed to get that off of Carrie Vargo.
Well, John, can I just add, I have been in so many meetings with senior leaders who come in and say, just cut the hours, just do this, just do that. They have no idea what's going on. And I'm not trying to be a smart aleck, but I'm assuming that most things that the staff does are important. But I do totally agree with you that until we have Carrie, I don't want to set hours or anything like that. I do still think in the context of, hey, we need some part-time help, we can post it and we can get someone in the next few weeks or January 1st and just get started.
Okay.
I support that too. I support what, John, for once I disagree with you. We know the fact is that Mary has to reduce her hours. No wonder she does it now or she does it later, but she has to reduce the hours. And as Nancy said, I worry that if we don't get somebody in, and it's not forever, it's someone in to have some of the work transition from Mary O to this person, that it's not going to be fair to Joan, Jeff, and it won't be fair to Mary O, because I know I get a sense of your personality, Mary, and I know you'll stay the hours and you'll just try to fill the gap up, and it's not what we promised you. So I hear what, I agree with everybody that we don't have it all figured out, and it's a lot of gray here. But I think to do nothing and have Mary O back up on her hours it's just not going to be fair. And we just have to have the conversations, Joan, with the people that you can bring in.
Okay.
And they need to understand this is a temporary thing, that we're working our way through it. It could become permanent, it may not, but we're still kind of up in the air. But we can't just do nothing. I just think it's not going to work out well.
Okay.
I mean, I'm a little confused too, because the last time we talked about this, and I understand that this, not all the board members were there, but the question or the ask that was put on you, Joan, was come up with something. We trust the staff to come up with what the solution should be and present it to the board. And in this meeting, you come in saying with no, like, there is no suggestion. So I'm a little confused at, like, where's that, here's my needs, and this is what we should do.
Dave, I will tell you how I could fill my needs if you tell me how many days. Again, we're going back to this.
That's part of your needs, is how.
Okay, well then I'll fill it based on the schedule that we keep now. I will look for somebody part-time based on the schedule we have now. And if we cut back hours or days or something, then we'll have to work that out with them.
Yeah, I mean, I think we gave you. Yeah, I mean, I think we gave you an idea of reduced hours, right? We gave you the 20 hours or 24 hours. We gave you, we don't care whether it's 4 days a week or 3 days a week. We gave you these parameters. It wasn't like we didn't give you, we didn't say, Joan, go figure it out. We gave you these parameters to think about, and then come back to the board and say, here's my idea, here's my concept, what do you folks think? And instead tonight you say it's almost like this is the first time we're having this conversation.
No, see,
I'm a little confused.
What I'm trying to say is, if we're open, say we're going to stay open the 5 days a week like we are now, well then, if Mary's going to be in there a day working towards some of her stuff, or like 2 half days or something, then I know another secretary could be there the other days. If we're saying we're going to cut back days, because Jeff and I, if there's no phone calls, Jeff and I could do our thing, and that, that can just be it. So then I only have to worry about somebody for 3 days or 4 days, so that, even though they're part-time, you may be able to use them for more hours so that they fill more of the day. So, I can make it work. I just wanted some guidance as to if you're saying we're going to leave the hours alone for a while, the days alone for a while, that's fine. I'll work with that.
Well, the initial concept was the reduced hours, right? We'd have a reduced hours secretary. I mean, this was laid out. It was a reduced hours secretary, a receptionist working 20, 24 hours a week, however it works. Mary would do the heavy lifting, figure out what works for you, and get the part-time person in. And then today, it's like we're starting from zero again. Yeah. And I am so confused by that. I am so confused about what I've been talking about and what the board has been talking about for 4 months. Like it sounds like every time we come back to this topic, we're going right back to zero, and you're not.
No, I'm not trying to do that, because see, if Mary's only there part-time, okay, what she needs to accomplish in that part-time period, she's not going to be able to be answering phones and handing out permits and doing research for us, or, okay, she's going to have she's got her own jobs that she needs to do. Right. So then who's going to fill in who's going to fill in there at the office then? So if I get somebody, a part-time person, yes, but how helpful is that part-time person going to be if she's only there 3 hours each morning? Then who's going to answer the phone and hand out permits the rest of the days? That's what I'm trying to get from you.
That's what the reduced hours is. The place is going to be closed to the public, Joan.
That's what you're telling me now.
No, we're not yet. I'm telling you again now, Joan. I'm telling you again right now, this is not the first time we've had this conversation. It's not the first time we've had this conversation as a board, and this is not a
no, that you and I talked about this, yes. And then
we talked about it at the exec session.
Right.
And then we asked you to come up with a plan for this meeting, and here we are having the conversation.
Okay,
I mean, I guess it goes back to John's point about, I don't think we have the information we need yet. Right? I mean,
can I just make a statement here? Can I just make a suggestion that we put in a part-time position for 20 hours a week or less, just for somebody to come in and fill this gap for me, and I'll write up the request and put it in for the newspaper for tomorrow.
Thank you, Mary. I think that's a great idea.
We have the advertisement. All we have to do is put it in. We have.
Let's put it in, Joan.
Okay.
we can course correct. I always say it's a lot easier to start to move a giant snowball once it's moving than to try to start moving it. Let's just get going. We'll fix things as we go along.
I mean, if we have to reduce hours, you can take the reduced hours on my end if it comes down to it. If you need the person in that, we can work through that.
But the job that you're going to be doing, Mary, is very specific. I mean, yes, somebody can someday, when you want to stop, somebody will take that over and do that. But right now, your job is very specific and you've learned it well. And so it's easier to train somebody to answer the telephone and give out the permits and make copies and things like that than to do what you're doing, that other job that you're doing. Okay.
But I'd rather start with somebody with something than nothing.
Nothing.
So
let's just kick it off, guys. We're not making any promises to that person. They're not making any promises to us. That's the way employment goes. And we'll just meet people. We'll meet someone. We'll see how it goes and we'll go from there.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Add tomorrow. Got it.
Okay, Dave, you want to go on to the next item, please?
I make a motion to award the 2021 interim road and maintenance contracts to Yardworks. Seconded by?
I second that.
Okay,
Donna.
Donna. Discussion.
Nope. I think it looks like a good bid.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Okay, motion carries 5-0.
Mary, it's you.
Okay. Next, we're going to discuss the process and meeting schedule for the 2021 road program. No motion is required here. I'd just like to make a few statements. The most important thing we do is our infrastructure repair. Last year, we had the first open planning meeting. And this year, we'd like to do 2 meetings. We think it would be beneficial since it is so important to our township. To kick off this 2021 road program, we'd like to have an educational meeting with the Board of Supervisors, staff, and Ron Reagan to share information that we have been gathering because things are changing this year. We no longer have a 5-year contract with Yardworks. And there's a lot of information out there on different applications on how you treat different roads. So we feel an informational session would be great, and we are really going to rely on Ron Reagan giving us his expertise, especially since he services so many of the townships that we're attached to.
If you don't include Yardworks in this thing, you're losing a significant amount of the township's expertise. We've had lots of experience using engineers in our road program, and we did in 2015 and spent an enormous amount of money with an engineer. So my precaution is be careful how much engineering time you engage into this process.
Well, thank you, John, for your comment, but I think initially we may spend more money on Ron Reagan, our engineer, but hopefully it will be money well spent that down the road we don't have to spend this over and over again. This is an informational session where we can learn from our engineer. The board will learn and our staff can contribute. Now, after we do that informational meeting, hopefully in January, we'd like to go to 2 public meetings, one in February, where we tell the public what we have learned. They can ask us questions. Maybe Yardworks can certainly participate as public. And then in March, we will go to another open meeting to finalize the 2021 road maintenance schedule.
I think you only need 2 meetings.
John, I'm not done yet. Please, I'm not done yet. In the February meeting, one thing we want to discuss with the public is a long and short-term strategy for road maintenance. Most townships do it. We want to incorporate, our engineer, the robotics program. We have to talk about any winter storm damage we get to get us to this final March meeting. And I agree, Yardworks has done our roads and we need input, but we need other things too. Go ahead, John, I'm finished.
If you don't take in his expertise, and even if you have to hire him as a consultant, you're losing something very significant, a tremendous knowledge of what's going on in the township before. With all due respect to Ron, Jim brings a whole lot more to the table. I would say you need to bring him in as a consultant along with Ron. Typically, we have 2 meetings. The initial meeting is when Jeff and Jim would share what their expectations are for repairs of the roads. That's during the winter period when we don't know what the final condition is. And then the second meeting, we could actually do that as a board meeting. We actually decide what you're going to do.
John,
So,
I have a
meetings.
My question about, and this is nothing against Jim, so don't take it this way, is my anticipation is, Jim, we're going to put this roadwork bid package out to bid. Is it appropriate to have him in sort of this strategy meeting or this discussion of, roadwork issues and what we want to do and what we're thinking before he has an opportunity to bid on the package?
Dave, if I can just piggyback on that, my guess is probably very few, if any, other townships do include a contractor. We're going to be looking at different methods of maintaining our roads to maintain them longer. And so that first meeting is really just educational experience for us. We're not going to be making decisions. And if we find that we really have questions that we don't understand, Jim is absolutely a great reference, as are other townships. We're learning a lot from other townships. So I would be uncomfortable at this time, Jim, not because I don't think you're great, but because I think we just need to start out and just have an open book at first.
I think you're losing something significant right from the beginning without his expertise and experience.
Well, yeah, that's not what I'm questioning. I'm questioning the appropriateness of having Jim in an initial meeting before he has a chance to bid on a package.
Typically in the private business world, you always start working with some supplier when you're trying to find somebody to supply something for you. You always start working with somebody, and that person eventually becomes a bidder along with others. It's typically done in private industry.
Right. But John, Jim has been working with us for years and years and years. I'm sure we've learned quite a bit from Jim. I'm sure there's more we can learn, but it's okay to try to do different things too.
I think you're just losing something significant without having him in right from the beginning. Eventually you'll get his input, but I mean, both he and Jeff do a tremendous job scoping out these roads. And for the most part, we really have not overridden any of their recommendations. We've essentially selected from a whole group of projects what we plan to do for a year. So they drive around the township every day, and we do that too, but they're looking at different things. So they know what the roads look like. So their initial recommendations would be pretty much right on spot. And typically they would come up with, upon request, more work than we can possibly do, so that we have an ability to select projects from their list.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I'm ambivalent about it. I'm not really, I don't have a strong opinion either way. So I would have to just kind of defer. I mean, Donna, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I was thinking. So I think we're all clear that Jim would be part of meeting number 2 and 3 because he's part of the public and he could join in that situation. I do think, I mean, if it makes us feel better, we could pay him for his hours, but bring him in as a consultant because he does know our roads. But his role would have to be very clear. It's not that we're making any promises or that the contract is his, but we would use his experience with the roads in the area, just like we have Jeff and we have now robotics, along with Ron. I see Ron leading the meeting. But I see Jim being there as someone could make some comments on the roads that are in the area because he does know them better than Ron does. But I think we would just have to be very clear that his role is as a consultant in the context that he has experience with the roads, not as a promise for future work. And then we get into the public meetings where we said that he could be part of that, and so could anybody else that's interested in bidding on our roads be part of those conversations too, as a public member. So I think there is a way to do it as long as it's very clear what Jim's role is, and I think we have to pay him for his time, just like we would pay Ron for his time. We're not promising him any work from it. So I think it could be done. All right, did I lose everybody?
No, I'm just thinking. I don't know, Mark, if you're listening, if you've been kind of listening to this conversation, my big, is there I don't know what the right word is, an ethical breach, or is it problematic if we were to have Jim involved in this discussion early on?
Dave, I have been listening, and I'm thinking of whether or not a conflict, and I think certainly that's what you're getting at. I don't think asking advice from the current road contractor concerning what roads need what work would be an ethical issue. I mean, at the end of the day, you're going to have to bid a project, and you can't take away the knowledge. I mean, certainly I don't know who's going to bid, but the current road contractor, if he were to choose to do that, we can't prevent him from having the knowledge that he has already from working on Franklin's roads. And certainly I don't think that asking advice on what he may already know about certain roads in the township would put him in a better position concerning his ability to bid on a road. I think that based on the fact that you're going to eventually, when you decide what roads need what work, go out to public bid. And usually when that takes place, you have a pre-bid meeting, and you inform all of the individual contractors that are going to be bidding on the work, the parameters of what you're looking to have done. Those bidders are going to, all have the same information. So I don't think it presents a problem, Dave.
Okay.
I think my only thought on it is when we use a consultant, it's a matter of them sharing and transferring their knowledge. And so I would be comfortable with Jim if we learn from Jim, record what we need to record. I know he's spent many, many years, but we have as well, so that we don't every year need to use the same consultant for the same information. To me, I want us to be able to move forward and not really be so dependent on a contractor knowing more about our roads than we do. I'd like to see us be more knowledgeable about our roads.
Well, and I guess maybe to that point, Nancy, this would be an opportunity for us to kind of download on what Jim's experience has been, right?
Yes.
I mean, I want to, because to be fair, I've only been a supervisor for a year now, and it would be nice to just get that full picture of what Jim's been working on the roads for a lot, and I don't think we really had an opportunity to just. So one of the reasons that I wanted to have this first meeting information session is to get kind of a comprehensive view, get myself educated up, right? And I think that the more information I can get, the better. It might just be a long meeting and I'll bore everybody with all my questions, but I think that's something that I'm not opposed to it. So
I'm okay with that. And I when Mary talked with a roadmaster in another township, and he had such great advice, which was start keeping a book of all your roads and record the history, record what's under it, record what work has been done. And then we do start to have our own history of the roads, which I think is really important.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good ask, John. So I appreciate you bringing it up.
Okay, I'm confused. I thought the original meeting in January was, because I've only been a supervisor a year, was a meeting to educate myself. Like, there are different ways you can take care of a road. And there's a tremendous amount of information out there. And I thought as a board, we could sit down and share that. But who do you need that does this for a living? You need Ron Reagan, our engineer. I don't believe we should bring a contractor in there. Second meeting, public meeting, absolutely, or throw another meeting in there. But Jim DeRazio, and Jim, I have nothing against you if you're online here, and you know that, but you're a contractor. You're not the board. You're not the engineer, and you're not staff. I thought the first meeting was going to be a learning session for all of us. And then from there, we move on to, okay, let's look at the actual roads we need to look at. And then we could bring Jim in and say, Jim, what do you think? We think this road, and you think that road, why? That's when the discussion, but this would be, I thought this was going to be an educational meeting.
Well,
I'm very confused.
I think it still will be.
Yes. Jim knows a lot about roads, not just our roads, but road work in general. What processes work, which ones don't. I think he would complement Ron very well in terms of that learning.
But he's a
you know, Mary,
contractor.
I
have an issue with that.
What?
He's a contractor.
Why?
Because practical knowledge.
He would be bidding on.
It sounds like contractor's a bad word. I mean, Ron Reagan's an engineer, but he's a good engineer because he has a lot of practical knowledge that goes along with it. Jim knows roads, knows how to do roads, has a lot of history and experience. And you know, I think you'll find at this meeting that you'll get a lot out of it. And if you don't, it's kind of what Nancy says. We'll have the information that Jim has, and we don't need to invite him back again. But I have a lot of confidence that he's gonna add a lot to the conversations, and I think it's worth having him there.
Let me ask you this: what if we said let's also invite Longs or a different contractor? Would that
invite them all?
They have a lot of experience too.
Well, I guess the only thing I'd say there is they don't have experience with our roads, and that's why we're talking about DeRazio, because he has vast experience on our roads. And Mary, you indicated you wanted to learn something in this meeting. He's exactly the learning information you want to bring into the meeting.
But Mary is making a point that we're not going to lose that information. He can come to a second meeting. I think it is cleaner not to have contractors, at least for that first meeting.
I agree. I think you're really bypassing a lot of information. The initial meeting's going to set your direction. And if you don't get that information at the beginning, I think you've lost something.
Okay,
we
John,
may have to agree
let me throw this
disagree.
out there, John. Elbow Lane. Half of it is Franklin Township, and the other half is London Britain. Done by two different contractors, two different applications on the road. Why? I want as a board with our engineer to talk about that. I don't want the contractor that did our half of the road in on that conversation. Do I have anything against our contractor? Absolutely not. But he should not be part of that conversation. It won't be won't be as good a conversation as it could be.
I don't get that, because why wouldn't you have the person who did the job explain to you why? You don't have to buy into it, but you could at least ask questions and say, okay, you did this, or you thought this was you can explore it. If you have a person who's never done the road, who are you going to ask questions of? I think if for that kind of conversation, you definitely want them there. Now, like I said, you have to be he'll be there to be challenged. What was your thinking? What was your philosophy? What was your strategy? Would you do it differently?
Well,
I just think
Donna,
it's-
what could happen is that we might do things the way we've always done them, and that might be fine. But there's a lot of different ways to do things, and for whatever reason, we've done things a certain way for the past 10 years. And as we look around, we see that there are many other methods.
Right. That's why Ron Reagan should lead the meeting. I totally agree that Ron should lead it. He should lay out what our options are, but I think Jim would be there as a resource.
It's not the only meeting. It's just one.
Right, but it's our information. It's our level setting meeting. It's where we're going to learn all about different ways of doing the roads, different, what happens when you do it. I mean, I don't even know all the things, but I know there's that chip thing that some people like, and there's the oil stuff that people don't like, and there's things where you bring it down to the core and all that stuff. So, I mean, we'll need to be level set in terms of what's out there, and I believe that Jim can help. But I totally agree that Ron should lead the meeting. He should be the one that is the lead, and Jim would be there to provide comments as appropriate.
And I guess as I think about it, it's not necessarily, where you get pigeonholed into one way of doing it. I would like the opportunity in that meeting to be able to ask some questions about why things were done on certain roads in the last few years. My initial thought was the conversation could get a little rough, and I don't want to necessarily, turn this into an hour of arguing. And I just wanted to be able to kind of speak freely and openly about the road program, what's worked and what hasn't in the past, where could we have done better, and have a very calm, open conversation. Having Jim there, and I don't want it to necessarily be having Jim feeling defensive for an hour, because that's not the intent. It's just to kind of talk about what works and what doesn't. Not everything worked in the last 10 years. It wasn't terrible, but not everything worked. So let's talk about those things. So I think it might be worthwhile to have him there, as long as he can, take it for what it's worth, Jim. I don't want to turn it into a beat the crap out of you for an hour. I want to learn.
Anyone who's dealt with Jim, and I know he's on the line, he's the kind of person who doesn't take things personally or is not defensive. He's open-minded. He looks at, if he did something that he could have done better, he tells you that. I think you'll get what you want, Dave, because that's the kind of introspective type discussion he's capable of having without feeling he's being attacked. And he's going to learn. He may actually learn something along with us as we learn about some of the other ways of doing things. I think it's going to be a win-win for all of us.
I'm not.
And if it doesn't work out, we'll never do it again. I mean, but I think it's worth a try.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm not committed to that.
You don't want to lose track of the benefit of Jeff Eastburn working with Jim over the years. The combination of those two men have provided the township with a tremendous evaluation of the roads every year. Every year they provide that. So I wouldn't be anxious to separate those two at the beginning, and certainly in the first meeting when you're trying to gather information and develop a direction. I don't think you want to bring that in at the end. You want to bring that in at the beginning.
Yeah, I don't disagree, John.
My view is let's do something different once. Nothing terrible is going to happen. As Mary says, we can have a next meeting. I think I might feel more comfortable speaking openly if it's just the board with a consultant, and Jeff has that knowledge. Jeff has all that knowledge. He doesn't
have the knowledge. Jim does. No, he doesn't.
I'm okay. I'm okay speaking freely as long as we're.
I'm not. I'm just not.
I'm not either, Nancy. Not if Jim DeRazio's there. I just don't feel that's fair to him as a contractor. No, nothing against you, Jim, at all. I just would like an initial meeting of information we have gathered to share as a board with our engineer and of course our staff, because they deal with this also. That's all I want is an initial meeting. And then let's move to the next step after that initial meeting. There's a lot of processes I don't fully understand. And I'm sure as a board we don't, and we need to talk about that. And I will feel much freer talking without a contractor at that meeting. I'm fine with having it in the next meeting with Jim DeRazio there, but first one, no, I'm sorry, I don't approve of that. And John, I don't deny that Jim DeRazio and Jeff Eastburn have tremendous knowledge of our roads, way more than I do. And I agree with you there. And it's nothing against Jim DeRazio. I want to operate as a board here and have an open discussion. That's all I want, just an open discussion.
I don't understand your position logically. I just don't. I don't know why the objection of trying to get more knowledge into the beginning of the process. makes no sense to me. I disagree with you.
That's okay. We're all different. We all have different opinions,
Right.
but I'm
And
with
I
Mary.
I don't want to.
I'm not talking about a certain road, John, like Elbow Lane or whatever, Flint Hill Road, whatever road. I don't expect to talk about a specific road at the first meeting. I want to talk about different applications we can make on roads. And why would we do that? Is it a heavily traveled road? Is it a development road? That to me was what our first meeting was going to be. And I don't see any play. I don't think Jim should be there. I don't think you'd like it, Jim. And Donna, he's not opinionated. Come on.
I didn't say he wasn't
Guy I know?
opinionated. I'm saying he wasn't defensive. I'm saying if you say something like, well, this could have been done better, or why was this edge not smoothed out or something, I'll get an answer from him. So definitely he has opinions. He has a lot of knowledge, but he's not defensive, and it doesn't turn into a fight. It turns into a
I agree. But he anyway.
Look,
That's my
just-
2 cents.
I mean,
And
this
anybody
isn't
else?
an unreasonable
Otherwise,
ask.
we can move on to the next.
I don't know. I don't think it would be unreasonable to have Jim there. I think it would be something that we could, if it becomes, if things go sideways and we get caught up, we can reset.
Yeah, Mary and I are not comfortable with it. Okay, I mean, we're just not. So,
Yes,
I think you have to respect that.
And based on previous conversations where I was in the minority, we did a vote. It was 3-2. The majority took the rule.
You have been managing roads without us for 10 years. I mean, surely we can do one meeting where it's different than the past 10 years.
I don't understand. You have 3 people that would like Jim to be there. 2 don't. I think the majority takes the rule, and I think what Dave says is right. If it turns out to be an uncomfortable situation, we'll ask Jim to leave. And
oh my
God,
that'll be more uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Why would you be uncomfortable? We're all adults.
Well then, okay. You know what, Dave? Obviously, you're the tiebreaker. You decide.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, I think Jim offers a good insight. He has experience. Why wouldn't we be able to ask him some tough questions about the road work he's done in the past? And I'd rather do it in a meeting in this setting where we actually than have it in an open meeting. So I mean, I'm okay with the suggestion.
I can do it either way. So I understand everybody's decision there, the conversation, whatnot. So just to let you know, Howard, you decide. I'm good with it. And I can just show you the things I've done. I've kept the records for it. So got an idea what's under the roads I've done since I've been doing the road program. I have information what's under the roads. So a lot of that information that the other township was saying, I do have that paperwork myself.
Well, then let's share it and put it in a book for the township.
Yeah, I actually thought we had that, Nancy. I thought Jim and Jeff had worked together. I was just surprised Jeff hasn't. I thought he was doing that already, taking the information from Jim and putting it together and having a assessment. Now, I guess I'm wrong, but I thought that was already in progress.
What I did is I used our invoices and our proposals that we have done in the beginning, where I do the estimates. Then we show you the blacktop, how much binder, how much top, any trees, piping, things like that. With that paperwork, I can show you the layout of the road, why we would need more base coat, or we just use top on that road. There was no sub base failure, things like that. I mean, Jeff could put the book together, the same as I do, or I have, and he should already have that one started for last year, and it'd be a good example of.
Yeah, and it's good that you have it, Jim, but the township really needs to be collecting that information ourselves. I think it's just a matter of Jeff working with you and making sure that information's shared and we have it in a resource that's located at the township office. So and it could be done online. I mean, whatever makes sense, but we as a township should have that at our disposal.
Okay, I can work with Jeff with that. Like I said, he probably has most of it too. Just pull out those whatever year books that we set together for the road program. If he still has that, then it's pretty much already started.
Right. We just got to make sure it's up to speed. But we can take that offline.
Okay. All right, everybody. We've discussed this non-existent meeting. We have no schedule. There's no motion required. Can we move on to the next item on the agenda? John, could you pick it up?
Yes. I make a motion that the Board of Supervisors authorize to advertise the January 2021 meeting schedule.
I second that, John.
Seconded by Donna.
Has anybody seen it? I haven't seen it.
Yeah, it's in the book, Mary. It's pretty. It's just to get it started in January.
It's just January 4th is the organizational meeting. And I don't know which date is our regular meeting, probably the third Wednesday.
Third Wednesday. I mean,
January 20th.
Occasionally over the course of the year, we may have to make some changes, sometimes around Thanksgiving or the holidays. But the schedule that's out there right now is pretty generic to what we typically do. So I don't see any reason why we can't use it.
This is just for the month of January. At the reorganization meeting, we'll approve the advertisement for the entire year for the rest of the meetings. This is just to get us through January till you have the reorganization meeting.
So when is the organizational meeting in January, Joan?
January 4th.
January 4th.
And the board meeting is January 20th.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the second-class township or code requires that the organizational meeting be held the first Monday of the new year.
Yeah, I think you're right. Okay, should we vote on it?
Sure.
All right, we vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Yay.
Motion carries 5-0.
All right, now we're to the public comment. For anything that was not on the agenda, please just state if you are a township resident or a township taxpayer so we can get that on the record. Any public comment?
Did we have someone from the pickleball?
I thought we had the pickleball court. Did we lose you?
Think we
Maybe
did.
Well, maybe what we can just do is have Greg and team, the pro committee, look at it. The pickleball letter said they wanted 3 different courts, but I know Jeff has said in the past that that surface is pretty bad. So maybe the pro team can talk it through.
Well, Nancy, to comment on that, it seems like the tennis courts are in worse shape than the pickleball court. They only have 1 now and they want 3, which is fine if we can accommodate that. Of course, it's always about how much money do we want to spend and in what order. Most of the people that use the pickleball court, the 10 people that are on a team, I think only 1 is a township resident. Not that that matters. They want the pickleball court done first. And I said, well, I don't know. It depends on what the board decides and where we're going to spend the money. And in addition to that, all the contractors Jeff has contacted, they all come out and they all have, it's not comparing apples to oranges. They throw grapefruits in there. One won't even touch the pickleball court. He wants to convert the tennis court into quote tennis/pickleball court. It's very hard to look at these bids that Jeff has been assembling and be able to compare them. I'm hoping Jeff was going to try and do a spreadsheet. I don't know if he can. And we get together with the pro committee, and Paul Overton has met out there a few times. So we're going to have to sit down and look at these bids and try and figure out, they're all over the map. It's hard to, compare them because they all have different ideas. One will paint a court, one won't, one will repair a crack, one won't. It's really, I applaud you, Jeff, if you're still on here. You have worked so hard on this and it's been so difficult. So we're trying to work through that. And we all know how important our park is, especially during COVID. And we will get it done, but it's going to take, the board's going to have some hard work ahead of them figuring it out. And I will throw in there also, I talked about a possible grant from, I don't know what their initials are, NRDR, whatever it is. Well, what our representative for our region did not tell me was we applied for the grant in January. The applications close in April, but they don't award till the end of the year, August, September, which is for 2022. Which I know it was very frustrating when I learned that. But as Jones, I talked to Joan about it. I said, Joan, I'm really upset. I thought, we could get, they told me, our rep for Southeastern PA told me we were in the sweet spot to get this grant because our population and our lack of funds, we were in the sweet spot to get the grant. But then when I read it would be a grant for 2022, when I talked to Joan, she said, but Mary, the playground equipment needs updating, which it does. And we all know that's very expensive. So that's something the board is going to have to deal with. Maybe we have to bite the bullet and fix the tennis, pickleball, and basketball court. And then next year we get the grant, hopefully, and we deal with playground equipment. That's all going to have to come before all of us so we can talk about it and see the best way
Mary,
forward.
you make so many good points. First of all, we do have to prioritize things. And my guess is that those tennis courts, I have seen them used so much by so many people that they would probably take priority. I'm very impressed that you found out about the grant. Time flies before we know it. It will be 2022. And so maybe the pro committee should just take some time, prioritize what they think should be done. It's nice we got a letter. I certainly want to help people out, but there's no point in rushing into making commitments before we really look at everything that's needed and think about what's best for the community.
Right.
Well, just reinforcing, Mary, on the tennis courts are really the primary, one of the most used facilities we have, second only to the ball fields.
I agree, John. I agree.
When you look at what we've done over the years, we've picked, one project every year.
Right.
And we did the tot lot base last year, I think, and that was a very expensive project.
Bathroom. And the bathrooms, right?
Bathrooms, and the tennis courts have always been right there as kind of the next item in sequence, and you just can't do it all at once. You got to take it a step at a time. So
right.
I'd be looking at the tennis courts really hard. That's the direction I would give the pro committee.
And I met out there at the park with Jeff and some of the people that play pickleball, and they said to me, pickleball is at the top of the list. I said, I don't think so. I think tennis is. And they all got sad faces, but I said, it's the way it is, and we have to, as a board, do what's best for everyone. And I said, you're on our list. You're definitely on our list, but maybe not number one.
I think you got a budget every year to do one of these projects, plus some miscellaneous stuff, but I don't think you can do two major projects a year.
No.
I think we've really fallen behind and we've got to catch up, and that's okay. We will.
Yeah.
But I think it just needs to be prioritized.
Yeah. Okay.
I agree with what everybody said. I think that's well said.
All right. So I guess if there are no more public comments.
Well, Mary, just one comment. So are we saying, because I see Greg's still on the line. Did the PRO take this and prioritize it, or does he? How do you want to integrate the PRO?
I think that's their job. I think that's their job, is to manage this stuff.
Right,
yeah.
Greg, I think you need to jump in here with your committee and, kind of tell the board, what you prioritize and what the board should be looking at, where we should be spending our money, and then we'll decide. Hopefully you can do that.
Yeah, sure. That's no problem. We'll go over that next meeting and kind of set the priorities there.
Okay, the big issue, Greg, is if we are going to apply for this grant between January and April, and we're not going to get it till 2022, we can't apply for the grant unless we have bids from contractors. So if we're
Right.
going to get, we got to go get bids for, I don't know, playground equipment. I mean, Jeff, God bless him, got all these bids for tennis courts and pickleball courts and basketball courts. But if we do any of that this year, it won't be eligible for the grant. So that's something, I don't
So Mary,
know.
Jeff has already looked at playground equipment because he and I looked at it before.
Has he?
So there's a wealth of information Jeff can
Good.
feed Greg regarding playground equipment. So he has a good start for you.
The playground at the Penn Township, that's pretty fantastic. Any idea how much that cost them to put in? I don't know if you've been out there, but that's a pretty amazing playground.
Township, no.
They have mucho dinero.
Yeah.
My comment on that is we're not in that class of finance.
No.
No.
I was gonna say, we'll just send our residents there.
I'm sure many of our residents go there, and that's okay too. There's different playgrounds for everybody. You know, ours doesn't have to be like theirs. It just has to be the best we
I
can.
get it. I was just over there and it was pretty impressive.
Yeah, it
Well,
is.
Just look at the township building of any township you go into. It'll tell you how much money they have. So
Yeah.
Penn's got a beautiful township building, and we have a converted tractor shed. So that just puts us.
Ours is looking good. We're getting there. Little by little, we'll continue to work on that too. We're like the train that doesn't stop.
We're
Keep going.
Okay. All right, everybody. Anything else anybody needs to comment, or otherwise we'll wrap this meeting up.
So will there be an executive session now, or is that something that will happen later?
We were leaning towards Friday, Donna. Is that okay with you?
I can, whatever you need, whatever you want to do, Mary, is fine.
Okay, but Joan, can you set up Friday? Now, Nancy, you can't participate till Friday afternoon, correct?
Right.
Okay, so I guess everybody look at your calendar. How about you, John?
I have a meeting with the guide rail contractor in the morning, so it's got to be after that, whenever it is, and I don't have a schedule on it just yet.
Well, Mark, you're the key pin here. Are you available Friday afternoon?
Yeah, I'm available. Yes.
I am.
You are. Okay.
Okay,
Friday afternoon sometime, is that what I'm hearing? Okay.
Can we set up like a 3 o'clock Friday afternoon? Would that work for everybody?
Yes.
Yeah, that'll be good.
Fine with me.
Okay, let's plan on 3 o'clock, Joan, Friday afternoon,
got
an
it.
executive session with Mark.
Okay,
And if anything has to change, well, everyone will get in touch with you. Okay, Joan?
yes.
Okay. All right.
Thank you. Mary, 9 o'clock. You did
Hey,
great.
meeting adjourned 9:01. I'm so excited. All right. Have a good day tomorrow, everybody. Thank you so
Thanks,
much for
everyone.
everything.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Thank you.